All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. I did say yesterday that I would wrap up the rest of the card from Ryan Garcia and Mario Barrios. We also saw Franchon Cruz Dezern versus Claressa Shields, so we'll touch in on that. I do apologize if I seem a little bit out of breath, if my nose or my throat sounds a bit bad. I've got what I can only expect is tonsillitis. I'm going to the doctors a little bit later, but I still wanted to make this video. So if it's a bit shorter than what you're expecting, I do apologize, and hopefully we can get through the video. It is what it is. And if I don't make a video for the next few days, that is why I'll be out sick, because yeah, my throat is all over the place. But let's start with Amari Jones versus Luis Arias. A great performance by Amari Jones. I did say in my preview that I thought Luis Arias would lose this fight and lose it quite early, and Amari Jones did just that. I predicted a round 4 knockout for Amari Jones. He gets the retirement at the end of the 4th. It was just one-way traffic from the start to finish. And Amari Jones, I mean, some of the shots that he was landing in round 2 especially, those big shots, I thought the fight was going to be over even quicker. This guy here, I mean, I said 23 years of age. Now he's at 16 wins, 14 knockouts. Middleweight division, there's nobody there. We've just seen the best middleweighter in Yanibek Alimkhanuly receive a year ban, the WBO champion he was. So there's openings there for Amari Jones. There's not a lot of depth there. The champions aren't that great. I'm talking Amari Jones could very, very easily end the year with a championship belt. I don't think that's too outrageous to say. Luis Arias isn't the top of the tree, but he's somebody that many of the people at the top of the tree have gone through or fought. So for Amari Jones, he's got everything that you need in him. He's getting knockouts. He's young. He's American. He's going to get that opportunity. He was on a pay-per-view event on the weekend. He was only supposed to be in the prelims, but gets the booster, gets put on the main card. He's not far away at all, in my opinion, from getting a middleweight belt, or at least a shot at it. I think the fights against Erislandy Lara, Carlos Adames is obviously going to take Amo Williams next. So I don't think he's a million miles away. I don't think it'll be the next fight, but you get a good name in your next fight and you beat them convincingly. You put on the performances that you have and you're right there. All right, Bektemir Melikuziev versus Agbeko. One-way traffic from start to finish. I actually thought the commentators were a bit harsh on Bektemir. I do understand what they were saying. There was plenty of times in that fight I thought, you have him hurt here. Just finish the fight. Let's see a flurry. Let's see a good combination, and let's finish this fight. Don't just stand there and admire your big shots. And it looked as though Beck was looking to finish that fight with one shot. It looked like he wasn't content with getting a TKO. He wanted it to be a knockout victory. One big rangy shot that just puts him out, and it wasn't coming. All right, Agbeko, we saw how big he is. It's not that easy to just put him out in one punch. You got to parry it up with a good combination, and for whatever reason, Bektemir didn't do that. Gets to round 7, lands a good shot on the back of the head, rattles the equilibrium, and that's basically all she wrote. There is a bit of worry about Bektemir's, leading with their head, causing a lot of headbutts. You can see all the cuts across his forehead and his eyebrows. Whether that will play a role in a future fight, we're going to have to wait and see. We hope it doesn't. There's nothing worse than a fight being stopped because of headbutts, especially if it's a big fight. It just annoys everybody. It's just not great. It's not what we want to see. And Bektemir, with that lead hand being so low and leading with your head, it's always going to happen. And you can see that scar tissue causing all those cuts. So it is a bit of a worry. But I thought Bektemir controlled the fight. I don't believe he dropped a round, was all over Agbeko. I think everybody just wished, let's get this finished. Round 4, round 5. Don't wait round 6, round 7, round 8. So that's probably the only one negative. But I thought Bektemir Melikuziev, in terms of a pure boxing display, it was great. The footwork was unbelievable. The pivoting, the combinations, the precision, landing with both hands. I thought it was all so well executed by Bektemir. You just thought, let's get him out here. Let's finish this fight. Let's make a statement. You're so much better than this fighter. Frank Martin versus Nahir Albright. This fight was unbelievable. 95-95 times 3, a draw, an absolute fair result. Like, this fight was, Martin wins the first round, and then Albright wins the next 2, and then Martin wins the next one, and then Martin wins the next one, then Albright wins 2, and then Martin wins 2, and it was just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Nobody probably won more than 2 rounds in a row. Right, you could make a case for nobody winning 2 rounds in a row, because each round was so tight, it was so contested, it was so back and forth. It was just a great display from both fighters. And you come to that last round where Frank Martin starts the bleeding on Nahir Albright's eye in the 9th, and you think, all right, Frank Martin's going to capitalize here. He's going to win this fight. He's going to put his stamp on it. And Nahir Albright lands some big shots, really hurts Frank Martin. Frank Martin holds on for dear life. And then the calls start coming. Did Frank Martin hold on too long? Did he take him to the ground on purpose? Should that have been a point deducted? If so, Nihil Albright wins that by unanimous decision. And then you've got Frank Martin holding on for dear life, and the referee stops the action to put the mouth guard in, stops the action again to put the mouth guard in. The second one is on Nihil Albright. I will give the referee that. Nihil Albright needs to keep that in. But the first time was definitely questionable. You always got to understand that the referee has a role in that fight to make sure that both fighters are safe, and that is something that the referee's role is. So putting the mouth guard in to avoid somebody's teeth being smashed out, that comes down to the referee. No matter what, when a referee makes a call, there's always going to be backlash on it. He stops the fight too late. What are you doing? He stop the fight too early. What are you doing? In this case, you put the mouth guard in. What are you doing? He had him hurt. You don't put the mouth guard in, and Frank Martin lands a right hand on his mouth and smashes his teeth out. Says, referee, what are you doing? So I think the referee gave Nihil Albright enough time to deal with that before putting the mouth guard back in. But this is a fight that I'd be more than happy to see again. More than happy. I think it's fair on both fighters. I think both fighter had a case for why they won it. I think there was a case for both fighters losing it, and I think there's a case for them being a draw. And you put this on any card, people are going to sit down and watch it because it was so entertaining. It was so back and forth. And going into the next fight, who you name as favorite, beyond me, because I thought Frank Martin looked the better boxer, but Nihil Albright was landing the bigger shots, and I believe hurt Frank Martin more than Frank Martin hurt him. There was more, glancing shots from Frank Martin, a lot more combinations, speedier punches, crisper punches, but none of them were really dug in or thrown with any force. Nihil Albright, everything he was landing with big power, big size, and did hurt Frank Martin on numerous occasions. So going into another fight, your guess is as good as mine who goes into it as favorite. All right, Richard Hitchens versus Oscar Duarte. We're going to try and wrap this up, guys. Sorry, my throat is not handling it. But Richard Hitchens, I believe, struggled with IBF weight rules, and I think that's why the fight didn't happen. I understand people falling ill, people getting injured, pulling out of fights 96 hours before the fight, during fight week, whenever it is, but to pull out in the final hour, all right, when everybody's ready to go, when Oscar Duarte has gone through all that strain to go through his training camp, come into fight week, do his brutal weight cut that you've got to do for the IBF, rehydrate, ready to go, and you pull out at the last minute. Look, only Richardson Hitchens knows what goes on, and I think if he fights under IBF rules at super lightweight again, we're going to know whether this was illness or weight thing, but I thoroughly believe the next time we see Hitchens will be at welterweight, and that'll basically give me everything I need to know about what happened here. Oscar Duarte has every right to be pissed off. Like I said, he had to go through all that strain to do a weight cut, all right, which is brutal on your body, ready to go, possibly the biggest fight of your life, co-maining, up for a belt, and your opponent pulls out. Either way, Oscar Duarte, his next fight should be for that IBF belt. If Richardson Hitchens vacates, it'll tell us everything we got to do. Oscar Duarte believes he was scared. Only Hitchens will know, but the IBF need to, if this is another weight problem of the IBF need to start addressing this, sanctioning whatever it has to be to stop fighters that are clearly not ready to make IBF rule weight not compete or not set up a fight. You can't be having these last minute cancellations for your belt because people are really running a line here to try and make a weight class. All right, just fight your weight class. We see improvements of your ability anyway. I think Richardson Hitchens, if he can't make super lightweight, you're obviously going to be a much better competitor at welterweight than what you are at super lightweight anyway. So just give it up, move on. Don't waste people's time and energy and money in stuff like this, because it fucks everybody around. If it is illness, though, look, it happens, and I expect Richardson Hitchens to give Oscar Duarte the immediate rematch, and they run this fight back again. And if so, look, you got to give the benefit of the doubt to Richardson Hitchens. Illness does happen. All right, Gary Antoine Russell versus Andy Hirioka. Unbelievable fight. I thought Andy Hirioka lost this fight off the first 5 rounds. All right, Andy Hirioka, you didn't knock Gary Antoine Russell out. Going to scorecards after you haven't won a round up until the 6th always spells danger. And people did have problems with the scorecards, 117, 110, 116, 111, 116, 111. I do understand. I think they're wide. 117, 110 isn't right. I don't believe Andy Hirioka did enough to win this fight. I don't even think he did enough to get a draw. But, 116, 114, that's the type of scorecard you expect to see in this situation. For Andy Hirioka to get those scorecards, I don't believe it was right. I didn't score it live. And I don't believe Andy Hirioka won every round from 6 to 12. but he won more of them than Gary Antoine Russell did. Gary Antoine Russell won 1-5. You give Gary Antoine Russell maybe 2 rounds from 6 to 12, and you're sort of still looking at that level playing field. And that's what I'm thinking. Andy Hirioka was on the front foot, landing big shots on Gary Antoine Russell. Don't get me wrong, Gary Antoine Russell fought very, very well. I thought he started the fight very, very well. I thought even at the end there, he could have very easily cowered under some of those shots from Andy Hirioka. Gary's body must be a block of cement because those rips to the body that Hirioka was landing were unbelievable. And Gary Antoine Russell pushed through, was able to get off the ropes at times, land his combinations, and get through the fight. And Andy Hirioka, you got to start quicker than that, man. You can't just let 5 rounds go past you waiting to counter punch. Because if we saw Andy Hirioka fight the way he did from 6 onwards at the start, not only do I think Hirioka wins that fight, but I actually think he stops Antoine Russell. I think he was landing that big a shot. And you know what? You're going to be landing him from the start of the fight, which means you're going to even have more power in those opening few rounds. So I think he missed an opportunity there, but a good performance by Gary Antoine Russell, massively undersized in that fight, but boy, can he take a punch. I didn't expect him to be able to get through with some of those punches that were being thrown. Ryan Garcia versus Mario Barrios we basically covered yesterday. One thing we didn't talk about, though, was Ryan Garcia's hand. He did speak a few times that he hurt his right hand. Obviously, that's the one he had surgery on following the Rolly Romero fight. Man, you landing those big shots with your right hand. I don't know what round he got it injured. I think he said around round 6, round 5, round 6, round 7 even. If that hand didn't get injured, what result were we looking at? Because the way Garcia started that fight, if he did have to stop using that right hand for half that fight and not be able to land those bigger shots, I mean, there's a very good chance Mario Barrios goes to sleep in that fight. This morning, Claressa Shields versus Franchon Cruz-Dezurn, 100 to 90 times 3, just domination from Claressa Shields. She's just way too quick, way too skillful. Cruz-Dezurn looks good for the first 3 rounds and then gassed out, in my opinion. They're talking Shadacia Green, Michaela Meyer next. Claressa Shields talking about dropping back down in weight or even taking a possible Cruz-Dezurn 3 fight. I don't want to see that. 2 were enough. I want to see Michaela Meyer. That's the fight to make. All right, the co-main, Atif Oberton versus Joseph George. Scary scenes for Joseph. I mean, finishes the first round, goes and sits down, looks perfectly fine, drinking his water, and the next second he's on the floor unconscious. So scary scenes for Joseph George. It looked as though a headbutt middle of the first round was the cause of it, but either way, I mean, it's not great. He needs to go to hospital, get checked out, and you wouldn't be surprised if that's the last time you saw him, because what we saw today is scary, and it puts everything into context when you watch boxing and you say, why did this fighter do this? Why did he, call it a day? Why did he take a knee? And then you see something like that. Nobody even worked out, like, for ages what caused him to faint. Everybody had to scroll through the footage to work out that it was the slightest little headbutt that caused him to render unconscious in his corner after the first round. So scary, scary scenes. Shay Keneally versus Danielle Perkins, round 6 KO for Danielle Perkins. Just a perfect right hand, right on the button, put Shay Keneally down, and she was in no readiness to continue in that fight. All right, guys. Sorry this video isn't longer. Sorry it's not a little bit more in depth. I might not even upload this. We're going to have to wait and see. I feel awful, and yeah. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of the fights. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. If I'm gone for a few days, you know why. I'm out of here, guys. See ya.